Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we are unpacking something completely bizarre, highly unusual, but honestly, absolutely fascinating. We're looking at a movement that has literally taken the internet by storm and introduced a brand new, highly resilient mascot into the world of Indian politics. It's a story about youth, it's about frustration, and it's about the undeniable power of digital satire. Today, we're diving deep into the phenomenon of the Cockroach Janta party.
I mean, seriously, how exactly did a cockroach become India's newest political superstar? It sounds like a total punchline, right? The cockroach is stubborn, it's pretty widely reviled, and it's famously considered, indestructible. And yet, a satirical collective taking direct inspiration from this exact insect has managed to attract millions of followers and grab mainstream media attention in less than a week. It's making even veteran politicians sit up and take notice. So we are going to peel back the layers of this massive viral internet trend together to figure out exactly what is going on here.
Okay, to really grasp the scale of what we're talking about here, just look at this number, 10 million. In under a week. That is the staggering number of Instagram followers the Cockroach Janta party, or CJP, managed to amass. Just let that sink in for a second. A movement built entirely around a joke, with an insect for a mascot, drew in 10 million followers almost overnight. And the whole thing was fueled by thousands of signups through a simple Google form. And to put that 10 million into some stark perspective for you, just look at this comparison. We've got the newly formed, meme-driven CJP sitting at 10 million Instagram followers. And then, right next to it, the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party, or BJP. Now, the BJP is widely considered the world's largest political party by membership, and they've been the dominant force in power since 2014. Yet, their official Instagram account sits at around 8.7 million followers. Now, to be clear, the BJP and the opposition Congress Party are obviously still the absolute dominant political forces on the ground with millions of active, real-world members. But this digital comparison, it perfectly captures the sheer explosive scale of the CJP's online resonance. All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the controversial spark. This is the inciting incident. So last week, during a court hearing, India's Chief Justice Surya Khan allegedly compared unemployed young people drifting towards journalism and activism to cockroaches and parasites. Now, actually, wait, it is important to note, the Chief Justice did later clarify his remarks. He stated he was referring very specifically to individuals with fake and bogus degrees, not India's youth in general. But you know how the internet works, context often gets left completely behind. That alleged quote spread like wildfire. It triggered immediate outrage, a massive wave of jokes, and ultimately it became the exact inspiration for the party's name itself, the Cockroach Janta Party, which is a direct parody of the ruling BJP.
Now, the brains behind this whole viral sensation is a guy named Abhijit Dipki. He's a 30-year-old political communications strategist and a student at Boston University. And before moving to the U.S., Dipki actually worked with the Aam Aadmi Party, or AAP. That's a political organization born out of an anti-corruption movement over a decade ago, and they're pretty well known for having a very strong social media presence themselves. Dipki completely admits that the CJP started simply as an online joke. He just thought people should come together on a shared platform. He literally had no idea it would explode the way it did.
And man, they leaned entirely into the satire. The membership criteria? They're hilarious. To join the party, you must be unemployed, lazy, chronically online, and, my personal favorite, possess the ability to rant professionally. They deliver this completely straight, which just highlights the masterful irony of the whole movement. The CJP's website even claims they have 0 sponsors and describes them as one stubborn swarm. They deliberately use this visual language and rough, meme-like edge that feels so much closer to an inside internet joke than a formal political institution.
But here's where it gets really wild. The joke actually spilled offline. The hashtag #MindBeCockroach, which translates to "I too am a cockroach," just completely blew up. Young volunteers literally started turning up to physical cleanup drives and protests dressed in full cockroach costumes. They theatrically embraced the label. Top opposition leaders even began referencing the movement online. It kind of became this bizarre badge of honor for a whole generation feeling completely unseen.
Which brings us to Section 2, the underlying youth frustration. Let's look at the socioeconomic reality fueling this. You see, roughly 50% of India's 1.4 billion people are under the age of 30. That is an absolutely massive demographic block. It's one of the world's youngest populations. Yet for so many of them entering adulthood in a fast-growing economy, education just doesn't guarantee stability anymore. They are facing intense economic pressures, severe anxieties over work, inequality, and just the rising cost of getting by day to day. The promise of upward mobility is feeling increasingly fragile for them.
And this economic pressure? It's directly translating into severe political alienation. Just look at this recent survey data on youth political engagement. While 11% are formal members of a political party, a massive 29% of young Indians avoid political engagement altogether. They feel constantly exposed to politics online, sure, but they rarely feel actually represented by it. The CJP has essentially become a marker for all of this generational fatigue. As Dipka put it, people are frustrated simply because they don't feel heard.
So the CJP really isn't just a joke. If you look closely, buried right inside all that self-deprecating humor about doom scrolling and unemployment are some very serious systemic political demands. We're talking about demands for accountability, media reform, electoral transparency, and expanded representation for women. Their tone sits perfectly on that razor's edge between parody and sincerity. And honestly, that is exactly why the jokes land so well, because the frustrations hiding underneath them are deeply, deeply familiar to millions of people.
Moving on to Section 3, Satire as Political Reality. Because this is actually part of a larger global pattern.
This blurring of internet culture, humor, and serious politics, we are seeing this happen all over the world. In Italy, comedian Beppe Grillo channeled anti-establishment humor into the incredibly powerful five-star movement. Over in Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky famously went from playing a fictional president on a satirical TV show to becoming the actual president of the country. In the US, the Donald Trump era has repeatedly blurred the lines between political reality and parody. And now, here in India, we have the CJP, a meme-driven, insect-themed movement shaped entirely by hashtags and ironic despair. It might look odd at first glance, but in a world where politicians already embrace spectacle and viral videos, an insect-themed collective feels strangely plausible.
And that brings us to a really powerful realization from the CJP's creator, Abhijit Dipke. He makes the point that Gen Z has basically given up on traditional political parties, and they want to create their own political front in a language they actually understand. I think that beautifully summarizes the entire phenomenon. These young Indians don't necessarily want to elect an insect into a real office, but they are desperately searching for a new language to express their real economic anxieties and frustrations, a language that speaks directly to their online reality.
So, what does this all mean? While critics might dismiss the CJP as mere online political theater, there is absolutely no denying that it has made millions of young people briefly feel seen. In earlier eras, youth political anger produced these long, written manifestos. But as we move forward toward 2026 and beyond, we have to ask, do meme parties with insect mascots represent the inevitable evolution of youth political expression? It's a fascinating, lingering question about the future of global democracy, and definitely something to keep an eye on. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.